The question I'm going to answer, the question that I'm going to answer today is how to complete the personal financial statement correctly. This is a common question because the personal financial statement is often completed incorrectly, causing delays and even loan declines. So, I'm going to answer this in two videos. The first video is going to show you how to complete the personal financial statement correctly, which will save you time and headache. The second video is going to show you how the bank will interpret your personal financial statement, which will help you identify the strengths and weaknesses of your personal financial statement, and you'll be able to make some adjustments, hopefully prior to submission of your personal financial statement. Personal financial statement is also called the PFS, just the acronym for it. Okay, so a couple quick things. You only have one time to give your first impression, so let's do it right. So, the personal financial statement is a personal document to reflect you and your spouse's financial situation, not your businesses, not any third parties, your uncle's financial information, any money they're going to give you, etc. It is to reflect you and your spouse. The form that we're going to go over today is called the SBA Form 413. This is issued by the SBA, and it is required if you are completing a SBA loan. And if you're not doing an SBA loan, it's a good form to know. Most banks use it anyway, and if you have one of their personal financial statements, you can typically just sign their form and then use this one instead. Okay, so let's get started. Up in the top right here, you are going to see the expiration date. The first thing you want to make sure is that the form is current. This one expires September 2014. Below that, you're going to see an as of date. This is where you are going to put the date as all this information is based on. I suggest, let's pretend today is July 15th. So, I would have you print off all of your documents, your bank statements, your credit card statements, your mortgage statements, your car loans, every financial your stock information, all of those documents as of 6/30. So you want to go back to the previous month and print off all of your documents ending with the last day of the month. So I would put 6/30 up here if it was 7/15 today. Okay, down towards the second third of the page, you're going to see name. This is for you and your spouse's name. The rule is this: if you file a tax return joint, then both of those names are to be listed on the personal financial statement. Just because your spouse is listed does not mean that he or she is a guarantor on the loan, but it does represent that you two own assets together. Okay, residence address is below that. I recommend putting wherever you live currently. That's usually your personal or your primary residence. However, it could be an apartment, or you could be wherever you're living currently. Below that is business name and applicant name. This is the only field that I recommend leaving blank because this may change depending on advice from your banker, your CPA, other financial advisors, your attorney, etc. So leave that blank. Business phone and residence phone are on the right. For business phone, you have to consider that the banker is going to be calling these numbers. I would suggest you put your direct business line on that line so that he doesn't have to worry about calling a secretary and explaining why he's calling you. It's kind of uncomfortable for both parties. So if you can put your direct number there, that's helpful. For residence phone, I recommend putting your cell phone just to make the process that much faster. Get a hold of you, they can get documentation back and forth. Okay. So The personal financial statement, this is a summary of your assets and liabilities and net worth. On the left is your assets, on the right, liabilities and net worth. Top of the assets is cash on hand in banks. This is where you are going to put your personal checking accounts. So this is going to be your individual accounts, your joint accounts, and your spouse's accounts. The total amount will be listed in this top line. Next is savings accounts. This is where you are going to list all of your savings accounts, money market accounts, and CDs. That total balance will be listed in the second line. IRA and retirement accounts is the third line on here. That is where you're going to list all your retirement accounts, your Roth IRAs, your 401ks, etc. So that goes on the third line. And those will be described on the second page in detail. Next is accounts and notes receivable. This is if you loaned anyone money personally and they owe it back to you, that's where you're going to list that. It's fairly uncommon to see these there, but it does happen from time to time. Next is life insurance, cash surrender value only. If you have a term life insurance policy and that's all you have for life insurance, this does not apply. You do not have a cash value with a term life insurance policy. However, if you have a whole life or variable life or some other specialty life insurance program, you may have a savings account component of the life insurance policy, and you want to list that amount here. Again, you want to look at, let's say, the 630 statement, and on that statement it's going to list what that value is, and you're going to put that there. Next is stocks and bonds. This is the total of all of your marketable securities. Remember, this is for you, your spouse, and joint. So all your marketable securities will go there, and a full description of what those are will be detailed on the second page of this form. Next up is real estate. Real estate is going to include all of your personal residence, your second residence, your mountain home, your shore home, any commercial property that you personally own, not held in a business. So any real estate that you own in your personal name and that you would list on your personal tax return. So you put the total there. Next up is automobiles. This is going to be, again, you and your spouse's cars, your four-wheelers, your boats, all that kind of stuff is going to go under autos. All right, other personal property. This is going to be your assets at your house typically, your tools, your artwork, your electronics, your furniture, your antiques, all of that kind of stuff. You're going to total all that up, your estimate there, and put that on other personal property. Now, other assets is the last section, and this is really to cover, any other assets that you hold, including your interest in your businesses that you may own. So let's say you own a business that is worth $500,000. That's what the total assets are. Now, the business has $100,000 in debt. So the net worth is assets minus liabilities, so 500 minus 100 leaves 400,000 in true value, that if you were to sell the business and pay off the debt, you would have $400,000. You can put that $400,000 in other assets right here. Okay. Next up, you just want to total all these assets together and put the total in total assets at the bottom there. Okay, good job. On to liabilities. Accounts payable. Accounts payable is like, on the personal side, is like cash on delivery. It's fairly more uncommon than accounts receivable on the personal side. Accounts payable is, let's say you bought something and you're going to pay for it when you got back or when you received it. Or it's someone gave you a car and you need to pay for the car or something like that. Notes payable to banks and others, that's all your credit cards, your personal lines of credit, all that the bank lines of credit debt is going to go here. So you're going to get the total amount that total balance and list that in the second line there. Okay, third up is an installment account for your autos. So this is where you're going to total up all of your auto loans, and on your credit bureau it's going to usually list auto next to those debts. So you want to list those, whether it's a boat loan, an airplane loan, a car loan, all of those will be titled auto on your credit bureau. So you want to put the total balance right there, as well as what the total monthly payment is for all of those combined. You're going to detail this out on the second page. Next is installment accounts other. This is probably going to be student loans or other personal loans that you have that are payable for more than 1 year. And you are going to detail the total balance and what that monthly payment is, the total monthly payment for those installment loans. Okay, next up is life insurance. For life insurance, you want to list if you have any loans against your life insurance. Sometimes you'll do that, you'll take a loan out on the cash surrender value, just to make ends meet sometime, and then you'll pay that back. If you have taken a loan on your life insurance policy, you want to detail that here. Okay, next up is mortgage on real estate. This is where you are going to total up all of your mortgages and put the total debt here. Unpaid taxes, if you owe any real estate taxes, income taxes, school taxes, all that kind of stuff, you're going to put that amount here. One thing as we go through liabilities, it's really helpful if you have also pulled your credit bureau. It's very common to receive a personal financial statement that looks very different than the credit bureau. Mainly, most people do not put the total balances of their credit cards on there. So make sure that you compare, your credit bureau with your personal assets to make sure you've caught everything. Okay. Other liabilities, this is the catch-all. If there are any other liabilities out there, you want to make sure you get those on there. Okay. Next up, you are going to total all the liabilities up and put the total right here. Following that, you are going to do your net worth, which is assets minus liabilities is your net worth. That's on this second line here. Lastly is your total. That is going to be your liabilities plus your net worth, and that amount listed here should equal this amount. It should all back up. If it does not, there's an issue with the adding somewhere, so make sure you check that. Okay, now we are down to the section where we are going to be detailing some of these assets out. Sources of income, salary. This is going to be, right over here, all of your wage income for you and your spouse. Put the total wage income that you put, W-2, 1099, that's going to be listed right here. Net investment income is next. That is where you are going to put all your dividend and interest income. You're going to list all of that right here. Third is real estate income. If you have any rental properties, usually put on your Schedule E, that is where you are going to list your net operating income here. So after expenses, what is the amount that you take home? That goes on the third line here. And then last is other income. If you have any other sorts of income, if you want to add in child support income or something like that, you can put that in the fourth line there. So that should cover all of your sources of income that would be reported on your tax return. On the right-hand side are your contingent liabilities. So have you co-signed any co-sign for your son or daughter for a car loan? Have you done anything where you could be potentially liable for those payments? So put your co-sign things here. Next, legal claims and judgments. This is where you're going to put any potential lawsuits that you're in and any judgments. These will show up on internet searches as well as your credit bureau. So make sure that you're checking your credit bureau again to make so that everything reflects itself and there are no surprises to the lender. Lenders don't like surprises. Okay, provision for federal income tax. If you're expecting federal income taxes, you can put that here. Then other special debt. This is another catch-all to any other debts that you're expecting there. At the bottom here, you're going to describe your other income. Okay, we are on to page number 2. Okay. At the top of the form is notes payable to banks and others. This is where you put the total of all your credit cards and accounts payable. So credit cards, your personal loans, all of those, your total was on the front page. You are now going to detail those out. If you have more than 5 credit cards, you're going to want to attach another spreadsheet or a piece of paper detailing what all those are. You're going to want to put name and addresses of note holder. You definitely want to put at least the bank name. If you have, let's say you have a Chase credit card or you have 2 of those, you are going to want to put the last 4 at least of the credit card number after that. The address is not so important, but you do definitely want to identify the bank name and some account numbers so that the banker can easily match it up to your credit bureau. So list all those out. Original balance. For credit cards, you want to put your limit. So what is the max amount that you could put the credit card, spend on the credit card? That's the amount that you want to put in original balance. Current balance, obviously, is your current balance as of the end of last month. Payment amount, this is your minimum monthly payment. If you pay much more than the minimum, don't put that. Put what the minimum amount is. And then frequency, that is most often monthly. Very few accounts are going to be different than monthly. And then how secured. Most credit cards are unsecured unless you have some secured credit cards or they've taken some sort of collateral, but most are unsecured, so you can write that there. Okay, but the total amount for your balance, or your current balance rather, should match up to page 1. All right, section 3, stocks and bonds. This is all your marketable securities. So this gives you space for 4 marketable securities. You are going to list those in there: number of shares, name of securities, cost, market value, date of quotation, and total value. Usually your market value that will be listed on your statement will be the same as your total value. Okay, and then date of quotation, If it happens to be 6:30 that you can print your statement out, put that there. All right. And again, the total value here should match up to page 1. Everything should foot. Next up is real estate. Personal real estate. Under property A, this is where you're going to put your primary residence. And there's enough space for you to identify a first and second loan if you have one, second loan or home equity line of credit. It will go all under each one of these properties. Okay, type of property. This is going to be your primary, your secondary, rental property, a commercial property that you own personally. That's what you're going to put here. Next is address. Please detail it clearly what the address is, including city, state, and zip. Date purchase, when you purchased it, what you originally paid for it. We don't care so much about how much you've invested in the new kitchen. We want to know really what, on the original day, what did you pay for the property? Present market value. That's going to be what it's, if you have a recent appraisal, put the appraised value there, or call a broker and they can give you a good idea of what the current value is. Or you can even just type in the address into a search engine such as Google, and usually it will give you a couple values right up at the top because other websites provide that information. So put some number there that's fairly accurate. Do not go high, do not go low, try to make it as accurate as possible. Name and address of mortgage holder. This again, we really care about the bank name much more than the address. We want to match it up to the credit bureau. So please at least put the bank name, and if you have numerous mortgages for the same bank, list the account numbers there. So next spot is where you can put the account number to help us identify which mortgage you're talking about. The mortgage balance, the amount of payment per month. Again, this should be per month. And then the status of the mortgage. This is going to be, we're looking for current written. If it's late, that may be an issue later on. But so fill this out for each one of the properties. If you own more than 3 properties personally, you're going to attach a schedule of real estate which will identify the same information and just for all of your properties. Okay, section 5, other personal property and other assets. This is where you are going to detail about 5 of the fields from the front page, including retirement accounts, your personal assets, your electronics, your cars, all of that kind of information you're going to detail here in this section, and give as much information as you can on your car. Let us know, the model number or model and brand. So that's all listed here. Section 6, unpaid taxes. If you owe any taxes that you mentioned on the front page, list the information here. And then other liabilities. If there are any other liabilities that we couldn't identify on the front page, put that here. Okay, and that's it for page 2. Alright, section 8. Section 8 is for life insurance. This is where you are going to list all of your life insurance. Term, whole life, variable, it's all going to be listed here. Make sure that you give us the face value, which is the amount that will be paid to your beneficiaries if something was to happen to you, as well as the cash surrender value if you have the whole life, etc. The name of the insurance company, again, as much information as you can, and if this can be pulled from the most recent bank statement or insurance statement, that'd be helpful. Okay, we're almost done. Lastly, you and your wife or spouse are going to sign this. Make sure you put your name, date, and do not forget to put Social Security number. So throughout this process, I've recommended that you print out all of your financial statements on the asset side, on the liability side, so that you clearly know what these amounts are. And once you have completed and signed this, I recommend that you print this off, put it in a binder with all the supporting documents, as the banker will most likely request some of this information to back up the documents on here. Do not list anything on here that cannot be easily backed up except for personal assets. So the cash in the bank, the credit cards, the mortgages, all that should be easy. The stocks should be easily backed up with your financial statements. Thank you very much, and I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video about how the bank will interpret your personal financial statement. Thank you.